Hello everyone and welcome back to the Amped YouTube channel. Today I'm going to be taking you through the solution for the Amped Gym Challenge number 2. So just a reminder then on the challenge itself. So as a video analyst, you've been asked to do some comparison work, and the comparison is between an individual seen in video footage and an image of that individual and his tattoo. Before we get into the solution, I think there's an important point that I'd like to discuss first, and that is bias. When you're doing comparison work like this, something that we need to avoid as a video analyst is introducing our own bias. And this could be easily done with this sort of case. And what I mean by this is if I take a look at the image of the tattoo first, and let's say it's a clear image, this tattoo, and then I take a look at the video, because I've already looked at the image of the tattoo where it's clear, I'm then going to have that bias if I'm doing any enhancement work on the video, that I know what the tattoo should look like, and it may steer the way I enhance the video. So when you're dealing with comparison work, and you've got points of reference like this and different pieces of evidence, you need to be very clear in what order you're doing your work and what steps you're going through in your investigation notes. So with that being said, in this particular case, it's important that we take a look at the video first and carry out any enhancements we need to do before we take a look at the other images. So if I play this video for you, you'll see around frames 240 to 280, the suspect's hand comes into view and we can see a tattoo on that hand. That's what I want to take a closer look at and potentially do some enhancements to make his hand as clear as possible. So starting off looking at the range of frames I just want to take a closer look at, we can see that the hand is most clear, frames 251 to 253. So I'm going to set that range here, and then I'm going to play around with these couple of frames and see which one gives me the best result. So in the end, after playing around with a couple of the frames and trying some different workflows out, I settled with enhancing frame 253. And then I really didn't do anything fancy in the enhancement department. I basically just cropped the image down to the hand, performed a resize. I did an automatic color equalization just to get sort of authentic colors, adjusted the levels just to increase the contrast there, and did an unsharp masking. So I really did nothing too fancy here. Very basic enhancements, but it's going to allow me to see that tattoo a little bit clearer. So the next step now then is to bring in the reference images of the tattoo I'm supposed to do the comparison to, take a look at them, and then see if I can see any similarities between the tattoo and the images and the image I've produced through the video. Okay, so I've loaded the two images in, and this is where it gets interesting now. One thing we need to do is identify which hand is shown in the video. So if we go to the enhanced image, here we can see this looks like his left hand that he's holding this weapon with. And if we take a look at the video, we need to be sure that this hasn't flipped in any way, because we know some images and some videos can be flipped. And if we take a look at the license plate here, you can see that this is reading the right way. And also when we take a look at the lady in the video, you can see she's got an engagement and wedding ring on the left hand. So we can be very certain that this hand here is his left hand. If we take a look at AG3, one of the images that we're using as a reference, here it looks like we've got this tattoo of the, let's say, the T looking symbol on his left hand. And then we've got another tattoo here that would be apparently on his right hand. But if we look at AG2, now that T looking tattoo, which we said would be on the left hand here, looks like it's now on the right hand. If we take a look at AG2, you can see we've got some writing in the background showing that this image isn't flipped. So his right hand has the T on it. So in this image where we can see both hands, what we're seeing as his right hand and left hand is wrong here. This image is flipped. Now this is really important to identify. And I'll come back to this in some of the common mistakes I saw. But in this case, this image needs to be flipped. And you'll see now the left hand that we can see is the image that we're going to do the comparison on. So now that I've identified the hand that we need to work with, we can disregard AG2. So in my investigating notes here, I would say AG2 depicts suspect's right hand, whereas the tattoo in question is on the suspect's left hand. So we're not going to use AG2. Then in my investigating notes, I would document the process that I went through to establish which is his left hand. And now we need to take a closer look at this left hand. So I can crop out everything else that's not of interest and begin doing a little bit of enhancement work on this hand just to see this tattoo a little bit clearer. So at this point, then again, I've not done anything fancy enhancement wise. We've just got a single image here. I just cropped the image. Well, I did a flip, cropped the image down, did a resize, automatic color equalization again, and unsharp masking just to make it as clear as possible. At this point then we need to start doing the comparison. So I've just done a video mixer and I've rotated one of the images to have a similar orientation to the other. Obviously it's not going to be perfect because the perspective is completely different, but at this point we can start to see some similarities, and at this point you need to be very careful in how you describe this and what you see, because you've got things like compression going on in the video, but there are some similarities here. You can see his knuckle line here, and we can see that the tattoo looks like it's ending at that knuckle line, and we see the same in this image. You can see that the tattoo's ending on his palm, on his hand, sorry, the top of his hand, just where the thumb's going to be there. And again, in the other image, you can see how that would appear. You've got the gap in between what looks like a cross. You've got a darker area, then a bordered lighter area, which also reflects this part of the tattoo as well. So in this case, there's quite a few similarities that I would point out on this, and I would say that there's a high confidence that these tattoos have quite a few similarities. But as well as looking for similarities, you would have to look for differences as well. So things that I can't see clearly in the image from the video compared to the image I'm given, I would also start to document all of them as well. But in this case, I would lean towards it being the same tattoo more than it not being. Other investigators may look at this differently, but this is where the differences in your reports would come, and the difference in your practice. You know, some people will be at a level where they don't give any opinion, and some people will be at the level where they're expert witnesses and they will give their opinion on whether this is matching or not. So now I just want to talk about some common mistakes that I saw. Now I can only go off what people sent me, But in one of the cases, I saw that people were loading the images before the video. This counteracts the principles that I spoke about of removing bias, where you don't want to see the images first. They could have, of course, reviewed them individually before bringing them into Five. I don't know. I'm just going off what I saw. So that was one of the issues that I wanted to point out and make sure that I get across, is that you need to mitigate bias as much as possible. The second thing was I saw one report where the investigator didn't identify that the image was flipped, and so they got their hands confused, and they completely ruled out that this suspect could be the guy in the video, because they compared the tattoo in the video to the tattoo on his other hand. So those were the main sort of learning points from this. You really need to look at this sort of comparison works very carefully to establish, especially when you're looking at like right hand, left hand. You need to be very careful in this area, and hopefully this video will bring that to light for you if this is something new to you. I hope you found this challenge fun and a little bit different. Any feedback, any questions, feel free to send them my way. Until next time, take care.